Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in and being a part of our conversation. Please remember to like and share this video feed. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, please make sure to do that so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, make it a point to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook so that you can get all of the updates and be alerted when we're going live so that you can be involved in the conversation as it's happening. Also want to remind you, we are a membership organization. Please visit us at joinfpc.org. That's joinfpc.org. Help support our efforts as we fight for your rights to keep and bear arms. And if you're already a member, well, then you got to get some of our FPC gear. Where do you find it? You find it on fpcgear.com. Cool T-shirts, support the Second Amendment, and look good doing it. All right. Moving right along, talking about fighting for our right to be able to keep and bear arms here behind enemy lines in the Golden State. One of the bills, and it was actually the subject of our Battle of the Day on Friday, that I thought was interesting to bring up, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit about today because there's just so much in terms of hypocrisy. There's hypocrisy in all of it. But this one really kind of got under my skin. Because what we're talking about here is we're talking about a bill, Senate Bill 221, which would ban gun shows at a state-owned facility that is located in the city of San Francisco, bordering Daly City. And it would ban gun shows from there. Now, mind you, there are no gun stores in the city of San Francisco. And there's a very interesting point that I'll make to you a little bit later. They've basically gotten rid of all the gun stores and are working to make sure that there is absolutely no access to the Second Amendment available in the city of San Francisco. So for many, these gun shows, which occur 5 times a year there in San Francisco at the Cow Palace, is the only way, the only opportunity for people to be able to, in fact, exercise their right to keep and bear arms, to be able to purchase firearm accessories. But first off, what I'll do is I'll have Senator Scott Wiener, who is the author of the bill. I'll go ahead and I'll have him kind of introduce the bill to you and why he feels that this bill is so vital to the people of San Francisco.
This is not controversial in our local communities. The governing bodies, our boards of supervisors in San Francisco County and San Mateo County, as well as the Daly City Council, have been advocating for decades to get rid of these gun shows. For this bill, we have unanimous resolutions, unanimous votes at the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, unanimous vote at the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, unanimous vote on Daly City Council, as well as unanimous votes of the school boards, San Francisco and Jefferson Union High School District. So again, this is not controversial locally, yet our local communities have no ability to do anything about this, and that's why we are stepping in. We have unanimous support, co-sponsorship from the entire legislative delegation from both San Francisco County and San Mateo County. I want to thank my co-authors. High school students have been now protesting these gun shows and saying they want them to not be there anymore. And we know that nationally our young people are now taking over a lot of the leadership against the epidemic of gun shootings and gun murders in this country. This country is awash in guns. We have this epidemic of mass shootings, and it is absolutely frustrating. I will say that this gun show continues to exist right on the border of San Francisco and Daly City. Our community wants these gun shows not to happen anymore, and that's why we're here today, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Okay, so let's just be real clear. He didn't bring up one incident that has ever occurred as a result of this particular gun show there in San Francisco or there at the Cow Palace. He couldn't bring up one incident. He couldn't bring up crime statistics. He couldn't bring up anything negative that has occurred other than the fact that there has been gun violence somewhere throughout the country. And the very fact and the existence of guns and firearms and people's ability to be able to exercise their right, clearly that's all bad. And because the government has unanimously decided locally that the rights of their constituents don't matter, that the rights of their law-abiding constituents who choose to own firearms, because their rights don't matter, well, then the state should then step in and take away the rights of their constituents, should step in and violate the constitutional right of these individuals. But once again, I'm still not hearing where the gun violence that he is referring to was in fact caused by the existence of this particular gun show. So he invited a student, a person who's a student organizer, one of the young people that he said is now, marching nationally, which, I applaud people for choosing to be active in politics. I don't care what your age is. I don't care if you're older or younger. I applaud people for being active and engaged. What I don't necessarily believe is that someone who is ignorant on an issue should be driving policy in that particular area. But maybe it's important for us to understand why they are driving policy, because clearly, these young people, they must know why we need to ban these gun shows, because, they're young people. They're smart and brilliant, right? They must know exactly why we need to do this. So let us hear what they have to say.
Speaking on behalf of my peers, the gun epidemic in the United States has absolutely taken its toll on the students in my area. It's impossible to go to school hearing about the latest shooting that's happened in the country without just a sense of absolute and pervasive fear. It exists every single time we walk onto campus, every single time we walk into our classrooms. It's the idea of guns and knowing that guns are being openly sold in the area, and that people have access to guns that are being sold at the Cow Palace, that there's an active promotion and touting of the idea that guns are just this right that everybody has, and if somebody wants to walk onto campus with a gun, they can easily get it right near the school. It's minutes away from 3 different school districts. The Cow Palace, where the guns are sold, intersects with 3 different school districts, serving thousands of kids, and none of them feel safe walking onto campus.
All right, so let us be clear. Guns are being sold to children. No, they're not being sold. I'm sorry, what are you telling me? They're not being sold to children in schools? But she just said that they're being sold right down the street to anyone who wants to walk on campus. But they're not being sold while kids are in school? Really? I don't understand. So guns that are being sold at the Cow Palace are not participating in the epidemic of gun violence that is plaguing these students? Oh, those are illegally trafficked guns. The ones that are being used in cities like San Francisco. Oh, criminals. Oh, criminals are buying those guns. See, folks, here's the thing, and this is what is so frustrating. Nowhere in any of the testimony that is presented on this particular bill, nowhere did anyone point to anything, one incident, not one incident, either in or around the Cow Palace that had anything to do with having to do with the Cow Palace, any firearm-related incident, any crime-related incident around the Cow Palace that had anything to do with any of these gun shows. Not one. But because they have this fear, they need to take away everyone else's rights because they have a fear. And they feel they have a right to do that. But here's my question. My question is, what happens when that's not enough? I mean, they've already shut down all the gun stores, and now they want to take away the gun show. The only way in which individuals in the city of San Francisco have an ability to be able to exercise their right to keep and bear arms. I expect a level of, how shall we say, ignorance from young people, because in many cases, look, they're young, they're still learning. And in this particular case, It is an individual who is completely and utterly ignorant. The fact that she is offended that someone would even say that you have a right, that they're offended by someone promoting the right to keep and bear arms, that in and of itself is considered offensive. And therefore we need to shut down the gun show. Because the expression of a constitutional right with which you disagree is offensive. That sounds like a First Amendment violation. That sounds like you want to shut down their right to free speech. I wonder what other sort of speech this young person would like to shut down. If someone dares to say that they have a right against due process, they have a right to have due process. Well, hey, we need to shut that down because you don't have due process. Or private property. You don't have a right to own private property. We don't want you to have a right to own private property. We find that offensive. I wonder. But, like I said, I expect a level of ignorance from young people because they're still learning. They may be soft-headed, but they're still learning, some of them. But I do expect from our elected officials, not necessarily in Daly City or San Francisco, but I do expect more from our elected officials. I do expect them to have a better understanding and idea of what they're doing and what they're talking about when they step forward to advocate for a policy. Because now, once you get the government involved, well, now we start talking about government suppression of rights. Check it out. This is the mayor of Daly City.
Despite this long-standing history of gun shows at the Cow Palace, times have changed. Existing laws that regulate the sale and transfer of firearms in our state and country have proven inadequate in reducing the incidence of mass gun violence that we have all witnessed. Tragically, these incidents have seriously impacted students and youth across the nation and in our local community. Studies have shown that 7 children/teens under 19 are killed with guns on an average a day in this nation. As the mayor of Daly City, I'm especially concerned about the safety and well-being of my community and our young people. With recent incidents of gun violence occurring in the nation, I'm committed to protecting the students of Daly City. The Bayshore neighborhood of Daly City, home to the Cow Palace, has a T through 8th grade school, child development center, and community center within its vicinity, all of which I'd like to protect from potential gun violence. As policymakers, the City Council of Daly City, along with the governing bodies in the city, county of San Francisco, our neighboring city, the county of San Mateo, have all voiced ongoing concern about the gun shows in Cow Palace. Ironically, both Daly City and San Francisco prohibit gun shops in our respective jurisdictions, yet it is frustrating that a loophole to this prohibition exists at the Cow Palace, thereby impacting both our communities. On June 11th, the City Council in Daly City unanimously endorsed SB 221 with a passage resolution of number 1884. The Council and I recognize through adoption of this resolution that the surge in mass gun violence and continuing sale of gun sales at the state-owned facility calls for our elected state representatives to take a stand against gun violence by acting swiftly to reduce the number of firearms on the streets are being sold at the Cow Palace and gun shows.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys caught this, but I want to point something out to you. I don't know if you caught this. You heard that she pointed out specifically that the city of Daly City, the city of San Francisco, prohibit gun stores from opening in their jurisdictions. Did you guys catch that? They have a policy. Their policy that she's saying, their policy is to prevent them from opening. Meaning there will be no gun stores, no new gun store. Or well, in this case, San Francisco, no gun stores will be allowed. That I don't think is very legal. If I were you guys, I'd keep an eye out for that story because I'm guessing that something might be happening on that. But keep in mind now, mind you, that first and foremost, not one incident was brought up. Couldn't note one incident. This is the mayor of Daly City. If anyone could have the crime statistics, could get the crime statistics from their police department in terms of events or crimes that were happening that were related to this particular gun show, she could get it. And yet she didn't. She wanted to make sure that there were no guns sold anywhere in that city because, criminals go to gun shows, right, and get their guns? No, they don't. Criminals go to gun stores and get their guns, right? No, they don't. Criminals, 96% of which they found, and in research they've done, they found that 96% of firearms that are recovered at the scene of a crime are almost always not they were not owned by the person. They were not legally purchased by the person who utilized them. The person who used it is someone other than the legal owner of the firearm. So what we're talking about here is not having a gun show does not reduce gun violence. Not at all. Not one bit. Getting rid of these gun stores does not reduce gun violence. Not at all. Not one bit. But yet not only is she now calling, not only have they decided that as policymakers, they are going to subvert the constitutional rights of their constituents, they are now calling on the state to subvert the rights of their constituents. All the while, in the very beginning of her statement, she made it clear that gun laws aren't working. They have not reduced gun violence. And so her answer to laws that have not done anything to reduce gun violence is more laws. Because guns. That is the soft-headed thinking of a left-wing, gun-grabbing liberal mayor there in Daly City. And I feel very comfortable calling her that because she didn't even realize that she was up there saying, yeah, no, we're violating the constitutional rights of our constituents by prohibiting any gun shops from opening. Yeah, I'm willing to bet that her legal counsel is going to have an issue with that. But I pointed out, so you've made it clear. All right. You've made it so that people in your community do not have access to the right to keep and bear arms. That you are violating their rights by not allowing them to exercise in what is a constitutional right. And I made that point during the committee hearing. Is that it's already been noted by both the author and by one of the people testifying that you have local municipalities that are basically saying, we are going to deny you the ability to exercise your constitutional right. You can own a gun, you just can't purchase a gun. And now we're going to limit the only way in which someone can obtain or be able to facilitate or exercise their constitutional right to keep and bear arms within this particular area. We see this as a major problem, therefore we oppose. All right, so that point that was made was significant enough to get one of the most anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment members of the Democratic caucus in the Assembly to say that he can't support the bill. And quite frankly, here's the reason why. And ultimately, this is what even left wing, even people who really want to fight gun violence, right? People who really want to address the issue of gun violence. This is how they should be thinking.
So my concern and the reason why I won't be supporting your bill is that I just feel that this is a situation where all the laws are observed, and if people don't buy a gun here, I'm worried that they will buy a gun in a place where all those laws aren't observed. I've supported decriminalization of drugs, of prostitution, et cetera, and this to me is, we ought to have things in the open where they're controlled and not allow them to go underground. And I'm concerned that by prohibiting a situation where all the laws are observed, where everything is taken care of, that things go underground. And I just can't support that this time. Thank you.
All right. So while as a gun owner, I don't necessarily like being, categorized with people who do drugs or, do business with prostitutes. I get the point that he's making. He's like, look, I don't agree with this behavior, but if it's gonna happen. So if it's gonna happen, it needs to be done, and there's a legal process, a legal way in which for it to happen. In this case, the purchasing of a firearm and ammunition, the trading or the exercising of constitutional right, then it needs to happen in a place where it is legal, and in their case, they want to track it and all of that stuff, where people are following the law. Because here's the thing. If you get rid of this, people in San Francisco are not going to stop buying guns. Now, the people who can't get outside of the city of San Francisco, or can't get outside of that area to purchase firearms, guess what they're going to do? They'll just buy them off the streets. They will purchase them illegally. We did a coffee a couple of weeks back where they interviewed guys at San Quentin, and they said, "Yeah, man, no, I ain't go to no gun show. I didn't go to no gun store. I bought it off my homie. I bought them off the streets. That's where criminals, the people who are perpetuating gun violence, that's where they're getting their firearms." So even he recognizes the problem with this. Folks, and I get it. You're saying to yourself, well, why do I care about the people in San Francisco? Why do I care about the Cow Palace? Because you know what? This anti-gun, left-wing hysteria is a disease. And once they have completely shut down San Francisco, completely shut down the San Francisco Bay Area, completely shut down California, they will come for you. They just did a study. They realized that more people are leaving California than are coming into California. And let me tell you, they're not all leaving because California is too liberal. In some cases, they're leaving because California is too expensive, which means they are liberal and they are leaving California and they're coming to where you live. They're leaving San Francisco, which is one of the most expensive places to live, and they're going to move to where you are. And when they move there, their gun-grabbing tendencies are coming with them. And when enough of them show up, they're going to start electing politicians who are going to start instituting policies like this. We have to handle it. If we're not fighting it here in San Francisco, if we're not fighting it here in California, we will be fighting it where you are. So help us. Help us help ourselves, and help us help you. Let this be the front line in the fight for our civil rights. Let California be the front line in the fight for our civil rights, so that we're not fighting in the good old United States of America, or America, as I like to call it. We're used to fighting here on the front lines. We realize it's an uphill battle. But we need your help, because and I realize, once again, this may seem like a petty thing. This may seem like a small thing, but trust me, it is the camel's nose under the tent. If it becomes okay for them to snuff out the right to exercise or facilitate or be involved in the Second Amendment in this case, they'll do it in other cases. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. I realize it was a little bit of a long one today, but I figured you guys would want to have this conversation. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun, stay safe, and stay free. We'll talk to you later.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.